down to it and shoot for the sky.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Ring Post Daily Podcast. You're listening to myself, Jesse Henrik, the RPD Ring General, Tyreek Ramsey, the Prophecy Champion, Eddie Wade, the Future Champ, Joey Hudson, and our very special guest today. He is the Fight the World Heavyweight Champion. He is NWA Megastar, Bryan Idol, and he's the WWC Television Champion, just to boot. So...
And keep in mind, it's our second idol we've had on the show too.
That is true.
Who's the other one? Who was the other one you said?
The idol himself, Austin Michaels, was also on the show. So this is like the second idol that we've had on here. Like, idolize this show, man.
All right. Firstly, again, thank you for coming on. You're our first NWA guest, and that's huge for us. But besides that, like I said, you're also, I believe, you're the owner and operator of Fight the World. Is that correct? It's true.
Ooh.
Okay, and then you're also the.
Been about 17 years.
Yeah, no, I remember that. That was crazy.
Oh wow.
And then also World Wrestling Commission Puerto Rico television champion, who just a couple months ago you called out Bad Bunny, interestingly enough. So
Yeah.
I love
Dude, I love Bad Bunny. I listen to him all the time and still don't know what he says.
Well,
It's just, I like it.
For anybody that knows, it's he's a part of WWC Puerto Rico.
I didn't know that before.
That's where the
kind of
that's
finding.
where the heat.
Yeah, I didn't know that before kind of finding WWC.
Well, a little piece of history. Like, the only wrestling that matters in Puerto Rico is WWC. It's been around since the 70s, and anyone that's ever grown up there or is a real Puerto Rican, I don't care what state you're in or what country you're in, if you say WWC, they know what it is.
Right.
So.
Well, it is an honor to have you. We're just going to kind of get right into it, if that's okay. So first off, a question
Yeah,
for
please.
me. You're kind of credited with brokering that arrangement between NWA and WWC as well as FTW. Has being the bridge between those companies kind of been something you wanted to do, or did you just kind of fall into it?
So the real truth behind it is, one day I was sitting in Puerto Rico and I wasn't even working for WWC yet. I was in a smaller fed called Ground Zero, and I was the heavyweight champion there. And after doing a few of those shows, I just realized what wrestling meant to me on that island. And it's like almost reinvigorating because there's so much history there, and it's such a different vibe. The fans are unbelievable. And it was like, I was like, I wish I could give something back. Like, I wish I could make this bigger than just me coming here and getting a booking and winning a title and whatever. And I started to, like, script this thing in my head. And I was like, if I could ever pull this off where, like, somehow I can bring something more to the table with other wrestlers and try to recreate some things. And it kind of just worked out. One of you guys has the hottest mic in the world, by the way. I hear somebody inhaling. It's like...
Oh,
so I don't know whose mic that is. But it's
Eddie,
super
I
hot.
think that's you because I keep seeing you highlight.
But
So maybe, just move it a little bit away.
he's like Darth Vader.
My bad.
So, but anyway, to shorten that story up, basically, I started working for WWC. Things really have gone well, and I just kept saying, like, hey, guys, I think there's something more that we can do here, and I would love to try to involve, NWA, and it was a mutual love. Again, if you don't know the history, NWA was a territory, WWC was a territory for NWA, and it's actually the only territory that never closed. And so officially they've been a territory. The only technicality was that WWC rebranded somewhere in the mid-'80s, but they're still WWC. So basically they're the last surviving territory of the NWA anyway. And so reuniting the two of them, and again on that island, it's almost like a closed circuit as far as with the fans and what they know and everything. So NWA is already a part of that culture.
That's amazing. And speaking of the different places you're working, I just wanted to point this out because this is such an incredible stat. FTW champion, you've been champion for years. Is that correct? Because that's what I was seeing when doing a little bit of research. That thing's glued to you, isn't it?
Uh, yeah, it's been a minute. Believe me, it's not something. I mean, I'm obviously proud to represent it, but I think it's just that the company's been through a lot of transition. And there was a time where the title changed hands a lot more frequently, and we've had some pretty legendary ones, anywhere from, Balls Mahoney to Justin Credible to A.R. Fox to James Ellsworth. I don't know. There's so many guys that had that title that were great wrestlers or big names, and so it's something that's cool to hang on to and to be a part of. But I wonder if sometimes people get bored that I have the title.
So you're Roman Reignsing the thing?
Seems like.
All right. Ty.
But I like it around.
Yeah, I mean, you look good with it. And I mean, seeing the interaction between yourself, Damian Fenrir, and of course Billy Corrigan at that last show, that was really interesting because I was like, wow, I know he's the owner of the company. Is he actually gonna, give up the title to, make this connection happen? But then just watching you kind of, I don't want to say squash because squash is the wrong word. But watching you defeat Damian Fenrir just to keep your title, just for the pride of it, it was like, wow, this guy is awesome. So,
thank you.
Ty, go ahead.
Hey man, you got to do what you got to do.
Bryan, it's great to have you on. So one thing we kind of see in wrestling is, the whole when there's a male and female team, there's always got kind of a dynamic to them. Like Cross is a psychopath to Scarlett being a witch. Someone we had on earlier this year was was Evo Nate and Black Dahlia, where he's of course the chainsaw guy, and she's the chainsaw queen. So
right.
What would you say is the dynamic between you and Natalia Markova?
I mean, we're just a kick-ass team, dude. I mean, it's two people that basically have no limitations in the ring, and that makes us really dangerous. And we're the looks that kill for a reason, because there's a few wrestlers around that look as good as the two of us do on site, and then on top of that can wrestle like we do. So the name is mine originally, but it's ours collectively. And I mean, it's an easy thing to see why. It's again, wrestling's for, there's all types of people in wrestling, but I feel like if you see the prototypical type of wrestlers, I mean, we're like kind of what people would probably design.
We're going to get into that.
Like.
Right.
So we have that, and then
I know I did kind of see that, as I saw some few of your guys' matches, and it just seems like to me, my perspective was these guys are doing the whole, if models were wrestlers, they're doing it right, and they're doing it like the way it was supposed to be. Because of course, I believe you both are models, correct?
We are.
Yeah. So and also with the looks that kill, so originally, when did you guys come together, and how did you guys decide to, kind of form as a team, and how long has it been?
Well, Natalia, right about the time she came to the United States, started training with me, and I mean, it's been a long time now. It's got to be 6 or 7 years. So it was about then we started working together, and I think over the last few years, it was even a timing thing. We were supposed to link up in Japan and do something, and then it was like our schedules ended up being different. So it was like one second I was in Japan, the next second I wasn't, or she wasn't, and then but. It's been 7 years in the making, basically.
Awesome.
Still successful because you guys are moving forward in the Crockett.
Yeah, you guys won your first round match.
That last match though, that ending, and I hope she's okay. I hope she's okay.
Tim Storm and his Iron Claw, yeah.
For real. He just
this whole Baron von Storm thing that's coming. I'm not gonna say like it's it's strange, and I'm interested to see where it goes. That's what I'm gonna say about it. I'm gonna choose my words carefully because he might show up at my house and then choke me out.
I hear you.
Right.
You don't want that. That grip don't come off easy.
Is it hard to, as a wrestler, not to go home and like create yourself on the video games and like put yourself online?
All right, so me personally, I don't really play video games anymore, and so I would never do it. But I do appreciate when other people do it. I'd like to see it happen for me in an ultra legit scenario where, like, you know, a company actually makes me. But
That'd be cool.
yeah, it'd be nice. But otherwise, I mean, it's fun to see the fans do it. But I live real life. I don't need to live myself in a video game.
That's a fair answer.
Well, moving on to my real question. What is one promotion that you'd like to work with? And is it a goal to go there, or is it a dream of yours? But, like, it doesn't matter how big or small, but is there somewhere that you really want to land your career at some point?
I'm going to give you the most fun answer that anybody's ever given you. Have you guys seen this? And forgive me on the pronunciation because I don't think it's right, but it's I'm going to just say it the way I know it is. It's like the Cholula Luchadora company. Where they're wearing the big, like, the old school dresses, and like they were like old lady looking people doing insane wrestling.
No, I haven't seen
haven't
it.
heard
That
of
sounds
it.
funny.
Oh my God, you guys got to look this up. It's been a viral video for a few weeks now, and wherever that is, that's where I want to wrestle. It's like where they have rodeos. It looks like, and it's insane, dude.
That does sound like a fun time.
I like that.
But
I'm gonna tell you right now, I would be all in on that.
but
That's one thing we've been saying a lot in these interviews is just there's anything can happen in wrestling, and any company can have their own theme, and, you know, legit all kinds of stuff.
in seriousness,
Vince Russo kind of idea here, but what if we got Eddie Wade, like, at one of the TSW shows to wrestle a big angry
What?
a big angry bull?
No, whoa. That sounds a little dangerous.
Yeah,
What?
like you have to go and you have to fight this bull to the death.
no. But in seriousness,
it's not really-
bringing this back
For
to
what?
reality. If WWE or if AEW or even New Japan, if they come call in, are you picking up that phone, or are you more content to stay more in your home base with FTW and everything?
Here's the thing I would tell you. Well, here's my home base is NWA, and here's what I would tell you. Obviously, any businessman or person in the wrestling business would listen to any offers, but am I actively seeking any of that, or am I trying? No. I'm perfectly happy being in NWA. I mean, obviously very tight with Billy Corgan. I go on tour with the Smashing Pumpkins. So for me, the NWA is just fine. Like, I'm very happy, excited about the direction we're going in. I've played a huge hand in putting the company's live shows on track.
Definitely.
So I'm happy there, man. I'm not looking to go anywhere else. But like I said, somebody comes calling me up with a big bag of money, I mean, I might have to have a conversation. But other than that,
I gotta say, when
Money
it comes
talks.
to that situation with helping NWA kind of get its live shows, you know, on track, watching the show Billy Corgan's Adventures in Carney Land, which just came out on CW about a week ago, I gotta say, they kind of painted you as like this antagonist, but watching the show, nobody is more of an antagonist in that show than Kyle.
Oh, yeah, Kyle Davis.
Right.
I mean that's real life. That's Kyle Davis.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I'm
how he
not trying
is.
to throw hands, but my God, like, why wasn't he the antagonist of the show?
Well, I think
Oh, there you go.
sorry. All right, here I'm back. Here we go. I mean, he really is that guy. I mean, the thing is, nothing is scripted on that show, and actually, it's probably less interaction than you guys. I mean, that what you guys saw is probably less than what really goes on. So it's like there were bigger fights, there were bigger arguments. You can see a piece of it in one of the clips where I'm in there and we're in like an open building. It was Sarasota, and you see me like me and Kyle discussing it, and you can straight out see me in the 3-second clip like I'm losing my fucking mind, and like that's real, and like that's real. And I really started yelling at him, and I really started arguing. And a lot of the thing with Kyle is he walks this borderline of like when he says a comment, you don't know, like sometimes he's like, I don't know how to explain. I wouldn't say direct, but like he'll just say things in a certain way, and you can't tell if he's being passive aggressive. But you can't tell if he's being passive aggressive or if it's just the way he fucking says it. So that's the kind of thing. I mean, I'll tell you right now, it sets Billy off, it sets Chloe off, it sets me off, and like as time goes by, in all fairness, you learn to understand that his heart's in the right place, but like there's still this fucking something there that'll trigger you, and
Right.
that's real. And so I don't know if it's ever going to change with him. And I mean, just the way it is. But I mean, the way things are, we're all on the same team at the end of the day. So it's like you got to get your shit together and suck it up and move forward. And the same goes for him about me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't expect any of those guys to like me or give a shit. But I think they should respect that I know what the fuck I'm doing. And, since I fucking took the wheel, it's been a fucking great ride.
Yeah,
Kind of
NWA
speaking
has
on
been
that.
full steam ahead.
But yeah, kind of
Go ahead.
speaking on what you were saying in the show, he mentioned Billy Corgan's Adventures in Carneyland. You mentioned that you had been running Fight the World Wrestling since 2007. What are the most important things to keep in mind when it comes to consistently selling tickets and drawing interest in the product rather than just short-term highs and then short-term lows?
Well, look, I can't sit here and give everybody a 3-hour dissertation on how to promote a wrestling show. All I can tell you is this, man. You have to realize this simple concept. Wrestling is a product. You're selling it. You're trying to convince people to come and spend their money and watch it, and then to come back afterwards. So you have to figure out whatever the equation is to make that happen consistently. And I'm saying that starts from how you announce the show to how you announce the next show. And so that's, if you can understand those things, and like at this point to me, they've become elementary and like obvious because it's just about a repetition of doing it. And I can pretty much predict when I'm going to have a good show or a bad show or whatever, just because I know, I can see the boxes as they check off, and I'm like, okay, this checks all the boxes, this doesn't. And I just think a lot of it for those guys is they just didn't have the experience and they don't know. So if you don't know, how the hell can
Makes
you do it?
perfect sense, yeah.
More like, living it out and seeing what works, see what hasn't worked.
And the scary part is there's a lot of people in, TV wrestling or whatever you want to call it, like in the bigs, they don't know shit either. So that's, it's just a bunch of people. A lot of people speak from opinion, not experience, and that's two very different worlds.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because I think we see a lot of that with AEW, for instance, where, Tony Khan, in one way or another, he is a very good booker when it comes to giving the people what they want. But at the same time, it doesn't seem like he's really able to kind of keep the physical interaction with the crowd because, we're seeing decreases in his live attendance.
Well, here's the thing. You're putting it all on Tony Khan, and it's not just him. Now, it's him as a boss, but there's a whole organization of people there. Just like in the NWA, it's not Billy Corgan's fault that the fucking company didn't draw. You know what I'm saying? It's not. And so there's other people in the organization that gotta have accountability. They gotta have hustle. They gotta get out there and get it done because that's what they're fucking paid to do. And what I'm saying is, the problem is, it's very hard. Wrestling is not like any other business. It's not like you can be like, oh, I got a degree in wrestling business management. Like, doesn't exist. So the closest you get is what? Business management. But I just told you, wrestling's not like any other business. So if you know those things and you understand that concept, you can easily say, hey, the regular traditional things as a whole aren't going to work. So you need to take the expertise of, say, having a business background, but you also need to very much understand the specialty that pro wrestling is and what applies in that world. And I'm telling you, man, finding those mix of people is fucking slim to none.
Totally makes sense. Kind of switching gears back to you personally here. I think a lot of people would point to you, like we were talking about before, and say that is a pro wrestler. That is what a pro wrestler looks like. What are some of the pros and cons of being a, quote unquote body guy in today's day and age? Is that something that you actively, inspire other people to do, or is it just something that if you got it, you got it. If you don't, you don't?
No, I don't think if you got it, you got it. You don't. I think I used to be a very skinny. When I first started in wrestling, I was 180 pounds. I had muscle tone, but I definitely didn't have anywhere near the muscle tone or body that I have now. And I'm saying, like, it was a complete lifestyle change. It comes with not drinking alcohol, not eating so much junk food, working out at the gym 5 days a week, and for real, hour, 2 hours every time. Doing a little bit of cardio, doing whatever else, like trying to when you need it. The point of what I'm saying is, like, for being I don't know if I really ever see myself as a body guy, even though apparently I do have a decent build compared to a lot of other people. But I think I don't want to be a dick, but I almost think it's a sad thing, like that it's gotten like that so much, where people just rely on everything else and are like, yeah, well, you don't really have to be in shape or whatever. And the reason why I say that is because at the end of the day, we're supposed to be larger than life, and we're supposed to represent some kind of professional athlete and role model. So, like, if you're teaching people it's okay to be lazy and skip steps and whatever, and you can get by on this or that, on the whole, I don't think it's a good thing. Like, I would want little kids to look at me like I'm a superhero because I want to be a superhero. So,
Yeah,
to me, it's just like, you know what I mean? It's
kind of what's expected of
I guess drawback wise, well, right. So,
Go ahead.
no, all right, I'll finish this. I'm saying the only real drawback is, honestly, body dysmorphia is real, and anytime that I don't have six pack abs and I see myself on camera, I'm totally miserable, and it sucks. that's a fact.
All right.
right. So, Brian, is it true that you live in Clearwater, Florida?
I do live
Or
in
are you in
Clearwater
the Florida
Beach.
area?
The signal sucks now.
There
Sorry,
he
guys,
is.
I'm dying on the signal here.
Oh no, you're fine.
It's
Go
all
ahead and
good.
start over, Ty.
But
But yeah, I do
but
live in Clearwater
Brian,
Beach, Florida. Yes.
oh, okay. One of our previous guests from earlier this year, we interviewed Dirty Devin Diaz. He was kind of talking
Yeah.
about how he likes the Florida scene and what kind of stood out to him. So, is there anything that kind of stands out you feel about the Florida scene as well? And kind of how do you feel about it? Is there any other places that stand out as well?
Well, I think the Florida scene has changed a lot. I think a staple of the Florida scene, you'd have to argue, would be Full Impact Pro, which I certainly spent a lot of time in that company. But other than that, I mean, I think it's the same as anywhere else. I mean, I think it's a great environment fan-wise. I think the fans have a rich history here, with the NWA and everything else that was really a stronghold down there. Obviously, WWE and all Impact, but so the fans are the most robust thing about the wrestling scene in Florida. I wouldn't say the wrestlers are.
Okay.
We had a wrestler come down to our thing here in Kentucky, and he's from California, and he said like that the Kentucky crowd was way better than the California crowds, just because of like how amped up and stuff they were and how involved they were in the show and stuff. But that was just crazy to hear, because you'd think someone like California would have like really good wrestling crowds and stuff, And it's just crazy to hear that a little town in Corbin outbeat them.
I think a lot of that.
That's what we do.
I think a lot of that
Well-
probably comes down to the fact that out in
Well,
California,
I
I think they're pretty oversaturated when it comes to wrestling. Whereas, in like you said in Corbin, you guys have a much smaller kind of pool of companies to work
Yeah,
with.
nothing else.
So I think it makes sense that it was like that.
Yeah, for sure. That's plays a factor. And in my experience, California crowds. I wrestled in San Jose for a weekend. I thought it was fantastic. I'm actually out in Temecula, California, Sunday, so we'll see how that goes. But I always thought the crowds were all right. But I understand your point. I always think small town crowds where wrestling is a bigger deal is the way to go.
Right. You were saying it's a bigger deal for them than in California. I could see that.
Oh yeah, totally.
Sorry, we kind of lost connection there, but I think we got the gist of what you were saying.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. My service looks good now. I don't know, but I'm on the highway. So
No. Now you're good. So that would be Jody.
Oh, me? Okay, so besides yourself, who is on Bryan Idol's Pro Wrestling Mount Rushmore?
I mean, I think you got to go with the Hulkster, Hulk Hogan, who is definitely a buddy of mine these days, and I don't think there would be pro wrestling the way it is without him. So that's a must. And from there, it's really hard for me because it gets very cloudy because there's so many legends that I'm cool with or I wrestle or like I owe pieces of myself to. So really hard to put anyone else on there for real. So I'll tell you what, I'm just going to put Hulk Hogan up there, and I'm going to say I could shout out a bunch of other wrestlers like Scott Hall, DDP, Bret Hart, Sabu, and even Tiger Chung Lee and a bunch of other guys that always, just incredible guys like that looked out for me. That I think are he's not one of them. But good dude though, funny guy.
I gotta ask, because of your kind of namesake here, was Austin Idol a big influence for you, kind of when you were coming in?
Let me tell you. So I was aware of him, and I did consider the possibility that the name had been used before. And you know what I said to myself was like, that was a long time ago, and what are the odds that I would ever end up on a show where it would ever matter that Austin Idol's there? Lo and behold, I get in the NWA and Austin Idol's there, and so I'll tell you this: Austin Idol's super cool with me using the name, and compliments me all the time and says I remind him of himself. So, in that regard, I'm very proud of it that it worked out that way because originally I was told that would be an issue, and maybe it kind of was in the beginning, but I feel like not anymore. I feel like I've more improved myself, and I feel like Austin Idol actually likes it because it's like carrying on the name.
That's awesome. It almost makes me wonder how, when you first came into the NWA, how did they not pair you up with him as like his, illegitimate son or something like that?
Well, when I first came into the NWA, I was actually doing a different gimmick because they decided, maybe for reasons of Austin Idol, that the name wouldn't really work there and that I should try something different. So being that I'm a model, we came up with the Mercurio thing where it was like a take on
the
Fabio,
twin thing,
which I really liked and I had a lot of fun doing. Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing it. Yeah, they jokingly explained it away in commentary as my identical cousin, but and the good news to that is there's more to go with that. Like I would never say never as far as doing that gimmick again. So it could happen, but right now I'd say I'm doing pretty well with the Bryan Idol thing and starting to really entrench myself as one of the main faces of the company. So
all right, yeah, I mean we totally see that. Eddie.
As a wrestler and training myself, with you being the head coach of the Fight the World World Wrestling Academy down in Florida, I believe. What is the first piece of advice that you give to a young, hungry trainee looking to sink their teeth into something into this business?
Well, let me qualify this with saying you're talking to a guy who has at one point had someone in every major Fed, whether it was Evolve, ROH, WWE, AEW, and Impact. All at one time, I had at least one student in all of those. Oh, and MLW, all at one time in those companies. So I might have been one of the only people on the planet to ever pull that off. So somebody who knows what he's doing enough, where I've definitely trained enough guys, and I would tell you. The first thing you should look for is a trainer that's not an absolute nobody. If you have a choice, you know what I mean? So many people train with beer swollen Bart, who tells you what it used to be like back in some time, someday, and that he wrestled some legend. And I bet if you ask the legend, he goes, I don't know who the hell that guy is. And so I would say avoid that first. So reputable trainer is always my first recommendation. When it comes to yourself, secondly, it means, what you need to do is you can't be a quitter. You got to constantly keep trying. You got to give it all. And it sounds so cliche and stupid, but man, everybody gets so inside their head when they have bad days in the ring, or they feel like they're afraid because they don't know the answer when someone calls on them or asks them a question, or they screw up and they can't remember something. All of a sudden, every psychological reason in the world, I see it all the time, is people start melting down. And it looks like all of a sudden, instead of being at wrestling class, they're standing in the ring. It looks like they're reliving childhood traumas. And I'm like, look, you got to just block that out and just wrestle, dude. Mistakes happen. You're going to suck. Everybody here sucks. Keep moving. So that's a big part of it.
Wow. Oh, that's great information. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Past that, there's nothing you need to do, man. Just show up.
We kind of try to pride ourselves on, being the guys, getting information for those young, hungry trainees, that are first coming into the industry. Because, DDP said it best. Pro wrestling for a long time was kind of a secret society where nobody understood how to get in, how to do anything. So, we kind of took that and ran with it. And,
right.
We are involved with the Fed over in Kentucky and over in Pennsylvania, and they're kind of entry level, what I would call entry level indies. So we're really happy that.
Who's the one in Pennsylvania?
PWX, kind of a brother to them. They're kind of owned by the same people now.
Who
Matt
runs
Silks
it?
And Trista Silks.
I've heard the name before, but I don't really know. But yeah, there's a couple out there.
Yeah, no, we love them out there, and we love our friends over in Kentucky as well.
What's their stable name?
The Sons of Mifflin County. If you've ever heard of them.
Definitely don't know that.
Well, anyways, getting back to you as a booker.
Well, you should know Mr. Eddie Wade.
Shut up, Joey.
All right, I remember it.
Gotta plug my dude somewhere.
Getting back to you as a booker, was seeing this kind of exodus of talent leaving the indies over the last 5 years or so, going to, AEW, which started up, to, moving on to New Japan or WWE, or, even as you said, Evolve, ROH, some of the bigger kind of super indies as they're called. Is there any kind of trepidation, taking a guy like Damian Fenrir, who we kind of see in FTW as, kind of a next big thing type of guy, ready to take that next step? Is there any kind of trepidation in worry that he might, get that call and he might leave you guys and, not be kind of one of those posts for you to hold up the tent?
No, I don't think so. And I think, same goes for NWA when they bring in a lot of the younger names and bring them along. Look, eventually, if someone's that good, they're going to go to the highest level. And like I said, not that NWA is not the highest level. It's just not everyone can exist there at the highest, pay grade or the highest level. So there's only so I'm saying if you look at NWA, there's people making a very good living there, but there's only so many spots of that. Then the rest are people kind of cutting their teeth on the way up or on the way out. So. It's no skin off anybody's back, and it's nothing but good vibes when someone moves on. Look at a Maddie Rinkowski. She was in NWA all last year, And then, one day she got the call from WWE, and what are you going to do? You got to go. That's, that was a big step up for her. And, maybe not, like I said, there'd be other people in the company that maybe the money wouldn't be that much different, but it certainly was for her, and obviously a much bigger opportunity. So you can't, and I'll tell you, I'm sure Billy would say the same. He wouldn't falter. He was excited about it, I'm sure. So nobody's afraid to elevate somebody because they're going to lose them. In fact, I would say more commonly, me myself, I'm more afraid that they're going to fail. You know what I mean? I'm like, we got to make sure these people are like understand what's happening here and they don't get caught up in the BS. But Damian Fenrir is awesome. I think he has a really bright future.
Because he's only been wrestling. I looked it up. He's only been in the industry for about 5 years, so he's still got a long way to go. And
listen, I was there for his first match, dude. I was there for his first match, and he was asking me all kinds of questions, and I remember it was really funny. And seeing him now, like
he
totally
just
different.
had his NWA debut,
And,
didn't he?
It's cool to watch.
Not this last week, but the week before.
He did. Right, and he just did another one, and I mean, he's slowly starting to get in that company for real. So.
I love that you mentioned Maddie Rankowski, because the NWA women's division is really thriving right now, and I think a lot of that has to do with the influx of talent like the Page sisters, for instance, and we talk about people who could be like you said, kind of elevated, and I look at those two, I'm like, man, you guys are built for WWE. Like they exude that charisma and that talent.
At some point, yeah.
It's really interesting seeing their careers develop right now.
Absolutely. At some point, though, I'm sure they'll land, up there. I mean, if NWA ever lets them go, because like I could see them being the face of the franchise.
Oh, absolutely, especially with Crossfire.
And exactly, that's a territory, and what a great family they have. I've met their parents, and like unbelievably cool people, like very, very humble, very hospitable. I just think the credit for the women's division, you really got to give it to Billy first and foremost for being willing to give people a chance and develop things, and then Jazz,
absolutely,
as an agent, has. Since she's become the defining agent on the women's division, I think it's really grown a lot, and the matches have really produced what everybody would like to see. So definitely, and the strength of the NWA, for a fact, it's not a lie. The women's division is the strength of it right now. Maybe one day that'll change, but in the immediate future, hard to bet against some of those matches because there are some really good ones, and that's already after things have been, people have left and been picked. You lost Camille. You lost Maddie. You lost some really good wrestlers, and it's still probably pound for pound better than any of those other companies' women's divisions. Right. And that says a lot.
I'll be the first to admit, the TV show was my first introduction to Jazz working with the NWA and helping along that division. So that's one of the cool things about these kind of behind the scenes shows, like Carney Land or Wrestlers, which did OVW, or even the Micro Wrestling Federation. They had a show that went up on I think it was TLC or something like that. But it's really cool. It's really cool to see all these kind of behind the scenes shows that they're not destroying kayfabe like a lot of people think they are, but they're more so giving you that look on the inside and saying, this is what these people go through. They are human and they're awesome.
Well, here's what I got to tell you on this. This is my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Look, it's fun to pretend, but you can't convince me. If I'm talking to a fucking grown-up, you can't convince me that you think this is all totally real at this point in life. So where the need to keep up a strong kayfabe is fucking really paramount. But if you ask me, you keep that up and you keep it up for the kids. It's kind of like how Santa Claus is, and so I think it's more engaging for adults to learn, about the performer and why they're there and what they're doing and kind of root for them on a personal level. Because that's what happens organically, by the way. When The Rock got to his mega fucking moment, it was because the fans were rooting for his life story and him. Same thing with Mick Foley. It's pretty much the same thing over and over again. Stone Cold, not so much. He was a gimmick. Hogan was a gimmick. But, like, generally, it's usually when they get behind the performers. And I'll tell you something else. It's something that a lot of companies miss because everyone's so caught up in the wrestling. They wonder why the fans don't get attached to some people. It's because you don't fucking tell their story of who they are. And if you don't tell the story of who they are, why should anybody fucking care about it?
That's absolutely fair.
Yeah, I remember recently watching one of Swerve Strickland's recent interviews, and he was literally just saying the same thing. He was talking about when they were forming the Mogul Embassy and creating those two groups, how, you know, he understood the importance of having them backstage segments and seeing how they interact, not in the ring, and, you know, as well as in the ring, but, you know, just seeing little digital exclusive stuff like that, you know, for that reason, connecting to the wrestler.
Exactly. And I'm saying that matters.
All right, Ty.
So Brian, being a booker as well as a pro wrestler, like at this stage in your career, what's kind of your perspective on pro wrestling now? And, you know, it's like, how do you think, you know, maybe people should, other pro wrestlers should view it? But starting off, what's your kind of perspective nowadays?
I'm sorry, as to how other pro wrestlers should
Like,
view it?
How should rookies?
Well, you can start off with
How should rookies get
you know,
into the business? What's your perspective on the health of the industry and such?
Okay, well, my perspective on the health of the industry is it's not good. And the reason why it's not good generally is because you got a lot of guys coming up, and I want to use the word respect, but I don't mean it in the most cliche, corny way. I mean respect for the business, as in, like, things are a tradition for a reason. And, you know, we live in this day and age where people love to just fucking shit all over and tear down traditions and, like, you know what I mean? And give you some smart-ass reason as to why suddenly something everybody did for 70 years is not a good idea anymore. And it's like, all right, listen, like, times change, people change. Well, maybe yes, you know, I understand the sensitivity of racism, but again, I don't think the Dukes of Hazzard personally had any racial undertones. But I understand, you know, you can't have a Confederate flag, etc. But the point is, it's not so. I'm not talking about storylines or angles. I'm talking about behaviorally the tradition of, like, you know, paying your dues in wrestling or going through some shit, or like keeping your mouth shut when things get tough and not trying to blow the whole game up around you to try and advance yourself. Like, that's respect for the business. And I feel like a lot of guys lack that because they feel like they can find a way to tear somebody else down using some fucking new age rule to try to get ahead of them. And I think it's lame. And, you know, you should earn everything you earn in wrestling on what you put in. You know, it's like an investment. Everything you put in, you know, you should aim to get back. But, like, there's no shortcut to that. And if you're shorting it and you're shortcutting it, then you're probably not going to last, and you're doing the business a disservice. So I would say if you're a up and coming rookie, you need to, like, keep your mouth shut, and you need to learn the way things really go, and you need to stop trying to fucking be a hotshot and reinvent the wheel, because that's the problem. Everybody's trying to do that. Like, let me give you a for instance, like, real quick. So there was a a debate where somebody said, like, the wrestler, they were debating, like, hey, you know, here's why when you're in the opening match, you shouldn't try to fucking do every move and have 10 false finishes on a show. And somebody was like, well, if they can't keep up with that, that's on them. And it's like, okay, listen, dude, probably the main eventers that are, you know, superstar wrestlers can probably do all the same things you're doing. But the problem is you're blowing it up to the crowd, and they've now seen everything in the first match. So everything else looks less special, and you gave it all to them. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you need to know that you're the first match on the card for a reason. It might be because you don't have the best build, or you're not the best looking, or you don't have the best character. So you're a decent wrestler, so you go out there and do some moves. But it doesn't mean you got to do every single thing and make it like a crazy spot fest, because, like I said, overall, you wear down the show. And if you wear down the show, you wear down the company as a whole. And if you wear down wrestling as a whole, what do you got left? You know what I'm saying? So just simple rules like that people don't respect is like crazy to me.
But let me ask, on, on that topic, okay, so
Sure.
if you had like match 4 and you realize match 1 or match 2, just blew the show out of the water, wouldn't you don't you want to see that? Like, don't you want to be able to say, okay, we gotta go out there and top that? Like, we just had plans on doing a regular match, but we have to top that. Like, it's kind of like competition. Like, if everyone goes out there and tries to put on the best match of the night, just think how many best matches you're gonna have in that show. Like, it's gonna be hard
Yeah,
to
yeah,
pick.
yeah. Hey, well, let me counter it with this. Why don't we just put a title belt on everybody and everybody can be a champion on the same show?
I mean, okay.
That's a great counter.
It's
Say
more
I
about
mean,
building to that
I feel like
main event.
would it be correct to say it's
You got to have
You got to leave something for those guys because that's the way it is.
wrestling is
It's a psychology. That's what I'm trying to say.
yeah.
I
This is
get
what
it.
it is. Wrestling. Let me explain this to you quickly. That's what I'm saying. Wrestling is a psychology, bro. And like, there's a way to do things for a certain reason, and that doesn't mean in match 1 you can't have an unbelievable match and steal the show, but you got to do it the right way. Going out there and hitting 450 splashes and then putting a guy through a table in the first match isn't worth shit. So you need to find a way. You need to find a way to have that unbelievable match without doing all that. So it's like if you're like, okay, but there's plenty of ways, and like I said, I don't want to sound like a pat myself on the back, but I'll just take you back to I was in Nova Scotia, Canada, and I was on a pretty big tour, and I remember it was Chavo Guerrero, it was the Genius, Bret Hart was the the big face on top, and I just remember doing the opening match against a local guy there, and I came out of the ring, and it's not the first time in my career this happened. But I came out of the ring, and Chavo Guerrero came up to me, and he was like, "Oh my God, dude, that is an opening match. That's how you do an opening match." And I knew exactly what he meant because we teased a lot of stuff, but we didn't do everything, and it made sense to what we did, and we gave enough. And I knew, like, number one, I knew I had like the only female manager on the show, so I used her in the spot. So I did all the right things, and I remember Chavo like parading me around the locker room, and I'll give you the humor of the story. So after he's putting me over to everybody, and like he puts me over to Lanny Poffo, and Lanny Poffo's like, "I know, I wrestled him yesterday. He was awesome." And then he goes over to Bret Hart. And he's like, "Hey, Bret, did you see this guy's match? It was unbelievable." And I just remember Bret Hart looked up like as if he could care less about anything in the world, and he went, "Huh?" And he went, "No." He's just like, that was it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, man, there's a time and a place to do things, and that's what I'm saying. It's the young guys. So I'm not shitting on you. I'm just saying that's the kind of thing that someone will say, and they'll say, "Oh, too bad. Like, then you just got to fucking try harder." And it's like, all right, man, listen, you don't get what's going on here. So it's like, if you have that in a real company, which happens nowadays, look, I don't want to point the fingers, but look at fucking AEW, dude. That's why you got guys like CM Punk walk in there and fucking starting fistfights with people, because there's a certain way you got to do shit.
Right.
Yeah,
Would
even,
you
I'm
say
not
it's
even a
more
CM
of,
Punk fan, but I get it.
yeah, would you
I'm
say
not
it's
either.
more
I
of
don't-
like
I don't really
viewing
know.
the entire thing as like a show instead of like just individual matches?
1,000%. That's the whole point. WrestleMania is WrestleMania for a reason, dude.
Yeah.
All right. Uh,
And that's the thing is like if all that didn't get lost in translation, like the entire world of wrestling would be a better place. Like everything you've seen has already every one of us has already seen everything that's ever worked. And where it goes wrong is everybody has their own interpretation of that. And that's where things go off the rails. So it's like sometimes it creates another special moment, but a lot of times, especially on the independent level, it creates a fucking lackluster disaster. And then that's why companies come and go.
all
Is
right.
all right? All right.
Yep. We just got you back. So
Okay.
Joey, why don't you
So,
take us home here?
All right. So I guess this is my last question.
Oh.
Didn't know if you were driving like 4,000 miles away.
I
to
can
another
see
show.
you now.
Can you hear
We'll
him?
just wait.
We're here.
Yeah, we'll just wait for Eddie to get back, and then we'll restart that question, Joey.
It's all good. I'm just glad I'm not the one that has to edit this.
Where'd this guy go? Get a snack?
No, he should be coming back in here any minute. There he is. Okay, so Joey, go ahead and restart that question for us.
So, who would you say made you want to be a wrestler, and what's your favorite match of theirs?
Oh man, I don't have one of those moments. I just remember watching WWF back in the day, and like it was funny because I remember my older brother showing it to me, and I remember like at first I didn't like it, like or I just said I didn't like it, and I wouldn't pay attention, and then probably like the second my eyes actually locked with the screen and I started watching it, I couldn't believe how good it was. So I mean, in the early days, it was all about Hulk Hogan, guys like Hulk Hogan and Jake the Snake.
Right.
And just the fascination of all that went with that, and that's what's pretty crazy. Like, where I would say I'm really lucky at this point to be like a little kid in a small town where we didn't have shit, and I would like pretend I was in the ring with these people as a kid, and then I grew up and I was in the ring with most of them.
That's cool.
So it's pretty wild, man. It's pretty wild. Like Hulk Hogan was the ultimate star of my entire life, and like now I can just go hang with him anytime I want, and it's pretty wild when you think about it.
Amazing. All right, I believe Eddie, you're our last question.
Okay, so being in the business for 22 consecutive years, no easy feat, right? How would you describe your journey thus far, and what could we expect to see from you in the upcoming weeks, months, years, etc.?
Well, it's hard to admit I've been doing it that long. I like to lie about it sometimes and pretend like I haven't. Which it's probably the one lie I've ever told in wrestling is that I've been doing it a lot less. I think going forward in the future, I think you're going to see a lot of good things with NWA, and I mean we're really getting things on track there, and I'm proud to be a huge catalyst in that. And I would say if I have it my way, then I'll stay there forever, and we'll get it to such a point that everyone will want to be there, and I think we're close now. So I think another year or two, it's going to be something that's on the tip of everybody's tongue again. And, so I'm very happy with that. I just want to keep growing that. I just want to keep making that happen as best as I can. And, I mean, that's my immediate goals. And I'll still be doing what I do as long as I can. And I think I got a while, so.
That's awesome. I'm looking to catch you more on NWA.
Sweet.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would say you guys would be great as the Crockett Cup winners. I'd love to see that. So far, we've only seen the first round match with you guys. At least that's all that NWA has provided so far. But we're on the edge of our seat watching the tournament progress. In addition to that, I'd love to see you.
Oh, sweet.
I'd love to see you get into a program with Tom Latimer. I think that national title.
Well, we started it. We had it for going.
Yeah.
Well, you never know, and that's one of the best wrestlers on the planet right now. Is Tom Latimer, believe me, and I think he'll stack up against anybody anywhere. Actually, a guy who makes me look like shit physically, which I don't appreciate.
I was about to say you guys are very similar, and I can just kind of see you, the little nuances of trying to one up each other, when you do share a screen.
Yeah. No, he's fucking jacked, man. He is a freak, and like I'm in good shape, but not like that, man. He's 24/7 in the gym. I gotta tell you, I eat a lot of junk food. I don't really care. I gotta live a little. But Tom Latimer, I don't think that guy. I think he eats a carb once every 6 weeks.
Wow.
And but yeah, I would love to continue wrestling with him. I mean, whatever. I have good matches with anybody. I don't care. So I just do what I do.
I always like to tell people, if you try real hard, one day you might be just half as great as Eddie Wade.
Shut up, Joey.
All right.
Shut up.
I'll remember. I'll remember that.
So I guess we'll take it home here. Do you have any social accounts that you'd like to plug? Any upcoming dates? Anything like that?
Just just go to my Instagram and Twitter or whatever. The Bryan Idol. Facebook is great. Like that's where I do the bulk of my stuff. But I mean, you can check it out there too. But I'd like the ads on Instagram because people care about that stuff. So you might as well give me some numbers
Fair
there.
enough.
But yeah, man, you just check it out. I got everything. I always post everything up.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. I know you're a very busy man. We appreciate you, especially as you're traveling,
Hey, no problem.
joining us. Thank you so much. We hope you
I
have a
like-
wonderful night.
All right, guys.
Idolizing one audience at a time.
Yeah.
That's it, man. Boom.
All right. Well, this has been the Ring Post Daily Podcast from myself, Jesse Henrik, the RPD Prophecy, Ring General, the actual Prophecy Champion, Tyreek Ramsey, Joey Hudson, Eddie Wade, the future champ, and our very special guest, Bryan Idol from the NWA, FTW, WWC, basically a little bit of everywhere. This man is a wanted man, not to steal too much from Nick Nemeth.
True.
But we'll have you guys back next week.
Oh, I'm wrestling Ryan. I'm wrestling Ryan.
Yeah, I saw that.
Puerto Rico in a couple
I
weeks.
noticed that. I was about to say I saw that.
But we'll have you guys back next.
After I just did bust it open with his brother last week.
We'll see you guys next week for our half-year awards. And from the entire Ring Post Daily, we hope you guys have a good night and happy wrestling.